Am I coming in clear?
Yeah, you're
Oh,
coming
yeah,
in great.
Looks
Yeah.
good. Looks good.
Right on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for agreeing to come on and chat with us. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Now, I heard about you and heard from you. A buddy of ours is a fellow biker. He goes down in the States a lot. His name is Matt Neville. I don't know if you know Matt.
The name is incredibly familiar, and I
Yeah.
probably do, but I got a memory problem, and people always say like, "Oh, I got a memory problem." No, actually, diagnosed
You
memory
actually
problem. So,
you actually do have a problem. That's okay. Well, we're gonna be new friends now, so we don't need it in between friends, so it's all good.
but I do recognize his last name for sure.
Yeah. I'm Ernie. This is my brother. Oh yeah, I did that again.
I'm Ernie. This is Ernie.
I've done that twice now.
This is Ernie.
I'm Jer.
We
This is Ernie.
haven't been drinking, I promise.
No,
This
we
is
have
just
not.
coffee.
Oh my god, what's the second time I do that?
Way to go.
Man, I'm following you on Instagram for a while. You seem like a really interesting cat, and I heard you have a bit of a story with your life, and we're all about hearing good stories. And I also like when I follow your Instagram, you're a really good writer. You're very good at writing a story, and like just when your posts and stuff, I'm like, this guy seems like he'd be a good guy to chat with. And Ernie agreed, so we really just want to say thank you again for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the interest.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a good writer, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Cranking away.
Yeah, well, seriously, even with like an Instagram post, I like to write as well, and just like the way you describe things and just your flow, it really comes out like you're a really good writer.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So let's start from the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Liberal, Kansas, but about 3 years old, my mom took me, all my brothers and sisters, away from my dad, and we went up. And I was raised in El Paso, Texas, just on the outskirts of the town on the far east side of El Paso.
Wow, that's wow, man. It's always interesting to hear from people from like just different parts of the world and like where they grow up. So you grew up there, and then you were there for like what, all the way to high school kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I was there. I did the whole Texas thing. Friday Night Lights, played football there, and then
Wow.
around 18, got to that point where I was terrified of my future, had nowhere else to go. So I did what most of my friends are doing, who are doing the same, which is if you didn't want to go to the oil fields, you joined the Marine Corps or the Army,
Wow.
and as like I guess in my culture, the pinnacle of what you could be for like to make your mom proud was a Marine. So that's
Wow.
the route I took, and because I like doing things the hard way, apparently.
Yeah.
Was it true like the movies where like the high school football is as big as it's hyped up to be in like the movies, or not really
you know,
for the States?
it's
in Texas?
depends. It's but like I think so that school Friday Night Lights based on Odessa Permian, who we actually played during the whole Booby Miles era. But when I went through, it was definitely like a huge thing. Like my mother went to every single game, and like she was tough as coffin nails. I broke my thumb in a game, and I hyperextended my left elbow, and she from the stands said, scream, "Why aren't you playing?" And I was like, I broke my thumb and I can't lift my left arm. She's like, "What?" And this is in front of the whole waiststand. She's like, you broke your nail, you fucking pussy." And everybody starts laughing. And my
Oh my
coaches never let it
god.
go for 3 years. So they're like, call me the big cat sometimes. And those fuck with me. And no, my mom was fucking tough as shit. And when I went to the hospital that night and got a cast, she told me, she said, don't think that gets you out of practice on Monday. Like that's the kind of football. I didn't visit my dad for
Wow.
4 years because I refused to miss a single day of summer practice. I
Yeah.
was fanatically devoted. It was like a religion for me. I was more religious to football than I was to, my regular religion. I got kicked
Mhm.
out of catechism, cussing out the nun and everything. I wasn't a very good Catholic, but football, I was a psychopath, dedicated. And I had that same fixation, I think, with motorcycles too. Anything
Mhm.
I just zone in on it.
That's awesome.
What position did you play in football? Sorry.
Inside linebacker, and I played fullback. Played varsity 3 years. I was good
Nice.
enough to go Division 2, but it wasn't like I had so many injuries, and we were poor, and I was like, man, if something happens to me, like there's no way I'm gonna be able to pay for college, and my
Mhm.
family didn't have no money, so we're like, the military seemed like the only option at the time. I wish I'd go back in time, tell myself, hey man, you could become like a plumber and fucking kill it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were always told you had to. It's funny they told us we had to go to college the same time that the price is skyrocketing through the roof. But
Yeah.
it all worked out because I'm really glad at where I'm at now, using my GI Bill now.
Yeah. So were you always into motorcycles, even as a kid?
I have this image really young. Like I remember being in the back of my mom's Toyota van. We call it the spaceship, and I was always, the youngest out of my brother and sister, so I was stuck in the back. And I remember this huge procession of motorcycles. It's probably looking back because Texas is probably like a bandito's funeral because
Oh.
it was one of those long two-up processions. And I remember it was a funeral, and I was seeing these guys, and I thought, like, man, that's fucking tough as shit. And as a kid who grows up without a dad, you look for surrogate fathers, and like
Yep.
you grow up with a real fucked up ideal of what like being a tough guy is.
Yeah,
And
we get it.
my role models were people like fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme and fucking all these fucking action heroes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this like almost unachievable level of masculinity. So I thought, men are supposed to be tough. They do this and they do that. And I saw that as like the pinnacle of masculinity, like tough, and nobody's fucking with them. And I was like, man, that was always real cool. But I didn't have anybody, I guess, anybody who I knew who rode or anything like that.
Mhm.
And then when I was in the Marine Corps, I was engaged to a girl, and she got pissed off at me because I had volunteered to go to Fallujah. I worked on helicopters when I was in the Marine Corps, and they asked for volunteers. So I go, hand up. And when she found out I volunteered, she's like, "Why would you put yourself in a situation?" I said, "Well, that's what I was trained to do. It's like this is my opportunity to do what we're trained to be." And she fucking left me, and I had all this money saved up for a wedding. And I remember looking at this. It was 2008, and there was Maxim magazine, July edition of Maxim magazine. They had this spread about the Harley Davidson Crossbones, just came out that year, and how it was a throwback. And I was like, man, that bike was cool. And overseas, they had these overseas dealers where you could buy a Harley, and you buy it tax free, and they'd ship it to whatever town you're from, and you pick it up when you get back from out of country. Well,
Oh
I had all
wow.
that money. I was like, I'm going to pick me a girl who's never going to leave me. So I went and got my first bike. I came home. It was the first new thing I had ever owned, and I
Oh.
remember my sergeant was super pissed at me, and they almost wanted to tell me like, this motherfucker just bought a brand new Harley, and he's all, "Do you even know how to ride a motorcycle?" I was like, "Nope." I was like, also, I didn't know how to work on helicopters a year ago, but look at me now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's nothing I can't fucking do. I was like, how you gonna tell a fucking Marine, you can do anything you want, but ride a motorcycle, that may be out of your range. I'm like, fuck you, dude. I'm gonna fucking figure it the fuck out. And I did. Of course, we all start somewhere. I look like a total fucking noob, I'm sure. My
Yep.
fucking K-Swiss shoes, fucking riding around town, going to the local bike night at Hooters. Fucking nobody hung out with me. I look like a total fucking dweeb. But months and months go by, and then you start making friends with the locals and fucking hanging out at the local biker bar over and over again, and just kind of you find your own way, you find your own path. And I fucking found out I loved getting on my bike and just fucking not giving a shit where I ended up, and just picked a direction and just went. I was
Wow.
super fucking like in this time where if you're in the military, you have no control over your life. On that bike was the only time that I was master and commander of my universe. If I fucking shift left, shift right, that's all that's going to happen. If I eat shit, it's my fault. Nobody was there to tell me what to do. Just it was me and my bike, and that was the best fucking thing for me that it could ever happen. It
Wow,
changed
man.
my fucking life.
Holy, that's amazing. Now I got a question. So, do all Marines get their basic training in Paris Island? That's for all
No,
Marines?
it depends on what side of the Mississippi you're on. If you're on the
Okay.
right side of the Mississippi, you go to Parris Island. If you're on the left, we go to Camp Pendleton, which is where I was, come from Texas, and that's where I was recruited out of. And yeah, no, they call Hollywood Marines, what they call us.
Oh,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that
Yeah,
either.
it's like a little like a fuck with each other thing.
that's awesome.
Yeah, we went to Paris Island and it was a hurricane when we went, so that was a lot of fun.
A friend of the family was going through, and he graduated, and we went. Ended up, it was kind of weird. I think they kind of looked at our driver's licenses. They're like, Canada. I'm like, what are you guys doing here?
You guys lost?
And they're like, they kind of just like, okay, sure. And then we just showed them like, we were coming to visit who we were going to see, whatever, and they did give us a little bit of a hard time, but it was okay. We're cool, man. We just play hockey and
We're
drink.
cool, eh? We're
Yeah,
cool, eh?
yeah, we just drink maple syrup, so got nothing to worry about. So
Yeah, I was
how?
stationed on the East Coast, just a little north of Paris Island. I was in North Carolina, right next to Camp Lejeune.
So now, is it true like you have to put in a certain amount of years? Is it like 4 years or something in the Marines or something?
I don't know the shortest term you can put in, but on average, the average contract's about 4 years. I did a 5-year contract because I worked on aircraft, and the like school time for it was about a year. So they wanted to get their fucking time out of you. So they if you're gonna do aviation, you do a year of school, and then the rest of your time doing the fleet. But sometimes it's less than a year. But at the time I went, it took roughly a year.
When you say you worked on it, did you work like were you working in it like in wartime, or were you actually just working mechanically on them?
Oh, both. So
Oh,
I was
wow.
what we call operational level maintenance. So I worked on Hueys and Cobras. Those are the two attack helicopters for the
Yeah.
Marine. One's attack helicopter, and the other one's more support. We pick up people when they get shot for medevacs, and we get TICs, which are troops in contact. So if they need air support, helicopters for Marines are some of the best deals, and especially in Afghanistan. So we were always needed. My unit deployed more times to Iraq than any other helicopter unit. HMLA 269, first in, last out. Rah.
Wow.
Um, and as far as it goes, like these aircraft will break down. They were made in Vietnam. Like the aircraft, they have a birth stamp on the side of the doors, and they're literally made from Vietnam. They were held together with fucking shoestring and bubble gum, and we had to fucking keep them running. And they're always breaking down. Radios always breaking. And you have to fix them on the fly because there's people's lives there, like at stake in the moment. Like if you take too long, they have to jump over to another aircraft, and that amount of time, somebody's either bleeding out or getting shot at.
So if you're in Afghanistan with that plane helicopter, right? Would they have parts sent out there just for that case, or would you guys have to engineer your own kind of like use Buddy's part of his like his cot to fix something, or like how would they fix something in the field like that?
So logistics in the military is like its own fucking thing. So I was never in Afghanistan. My unit was deployed between the two. I was in Iraq twice.
Sorry,
But
I
as
just
far as
used
it
that
goes,
place as an example. Wherever
yeah,
wherever
we
you're
have
stationed.
you have a buildup. I mean, we've been there long enough that there's a certain amount of parts that are there on location and that you bring with you because mostly what's going to go wrong. And we could fix an aircraft like pretty much anywhere and get it running. But when it comes to like larger parts, that would it's just like anything else you'd order from Amazon. We're ordering it from the States, except for our supply chain is meant to keep people alive, so it's pretty efficient, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of different jobs in order for that to happen.
How long would it take if you ordered something like that you didn't have? How long would that take to get to you?
We had this board, and it would have green arrows and red arrows. And green arrows meant that it was up for days and nights, and if it had a red arrow, it meant it was only up for days. And we were always under the gun to like all the aircraft needed to be operational. So you honestly probably didn't wait for a part longer than like a day or two.
Oh, wow.
We always had and I'm not exactly sure where all the parts came from. Like they may have been as close as Europe, but we had an ordering system we'd fill out, and they'd get there, and in no time we'd be on always round the clock working. Worked 17-hour days, no days off.
Whoa. How many were you taking care of?
On average, it's about like I think it was like 23 aircraft, something like that, and like
Whoa.
at any given time, you're like 80 and 90% like capability with all of them.
Whoa. Man, that's crazy.
So you were in charge of, were there only the two that you were in charge of stationed where you were, or were there
Like the two
different types?
Yeah, there's two types. We work on both of them. They were both manufactured
Okay.
by Bell Helicopter. So a lot of the parts are interchangeable on both those aircraft. Um, so yeah, we just get trained on how to fix both of them, and a lot of the parts are the same. It's like very, very similar.
Yeah, I was just going
And
to ask if you could steal parts from one to fix another one kind of thing.
we've totally done that. And it happens like if something's down for if it's down for days and we need aircraft to be up for nights or something like that, we'll take it out of another one. And but that practice is usually stuff that was like your what they call it, robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
you end up just
Hmm.
screwing yourself in the foot by doing that, but you did what you had to. If you had one more up than another, there was a whole command section like in a squadron that's their job to specifically make sure we're operational for anything that could happen.
Whoa.
While you were stationed there, did they did anything become obsolete that you were working on at all?
It's funny. I was just talking about this the other day. So when I was like, back then, I was there in '08. We had like iPod shuffles, and we used to joke like, "There's more technology in this motherfucker, this entire aircraft." Because in the back they actually had to change it from a VHS to a DVD player. We had to order go through, and this is in 2008. Like there were nobody was watching VHSs at that point,
No.
and they were having trouble finding VHS tapes to record. So we have a FLIR, which you've seen the videos of, like whenever you see the little night vision, the dude's walking gets blown up. Well, the thing that records that's the FLIR, and it would record onto a VHS tape, and they were
No
getting hard
What?
to
way.
see
That's
because they were
crazy.
recording over the same thing over and over
Yeah.
again. And
Yeah.
they were like, yeah, we have to change the DVD player. I was like, wow, that's technology. But finally, when I got out in 2011, they were transitioning from the Huey and Cobra H1W whiskey and the UH1 November, which was the Huey, to the Yankee and Zulu, which were the updated four blade model of those aircraft with all digital cockpits. And anybody who did my job they went back to school and retrained them because I was getting out. I didn't end up going to school for it, but yeah, like in front of my old New River Air Station, there's a Huey up there that I actually prepared with a couple dudes. We took all the stuff that we could still use out of it, and it's essentially just a display. But that was one of the helicopters from my unit.
Man.
Wow.
So you said in 11 you got out?
Yeah, December of 2011.
Wow. So obviously you had what you were saying earlier before, this idea of like not really having a father figure, and like we have to kind of find it from fictional characters. Like Ernie and I have the exact same kind of story about like understanding that role and then trying to find it from like different ideas. So coming out of the Marines, you kind of like you built yourself into something, and you dedicated your life for, like you said, 5 years. So how did that feel coming out? Like what was that transition like?
It was incredibly rough. So
Mm.
before I got out in 2010, I was riding my bike back from my second deployment. It was a week. Like you get a weekend liberty the first weekend, and I was out drinking, and I was going through a green light, and a drunk driver hit me while I was drinking.
Oh shit.
It was like one of those classic. Like I had a green, and he had a green to yield, and he was like 19 years old, drinking and
Uh,
rushing to work, and it was like packed traffic because the first day the beach was nice to go to. And I remember going to the light, and this kid pulls out in front of me with his Chevy Colorado, hit the back of him, kind of pit maneuver him. My right leg catches the bumper, nearly rips all the way off. I keep my
oh.
bike up for like a couple hundred feet, and then just kind of run out of steam and fall over in the grass. My buddy, who is a couple cars behind me, he had some girl in from out of town. We were taking to the beach, and that's why I was there. I never got in the beach because I just never did. This was never my thing. I had boots on. I was like, so I was just like, I'll ride with you. I'll hang out at the little bar nearby, and let's head home. And luckily, his training freaking kicked in, and he put a tourniquet on my leg, saved my life. It's one of my best friends to this day. His name's Peppers. We call him Pepe, whatever. We call
Oh
him
man.
Peps. And yeah, he saved my life right there on the side. I would have bled out. I had lost so much blood, and I had to get like 4 blood transfusions when I was in the hospital. 5 years, five surgeries over a course of about 2 years. Kept the leg, but it runs like a flat tire. So
Shit.
that combined with 2 tours, I would got married in between my first second tour, different lady. And the toll of my wartime, I did some. So I worked on helicopters, but I did some ground side in Fallujah
Oh man.
with First MEF, and I was part of a group of Marines that were stationed at a forward operating base just outside of the camp. It was like 12 of us protecting water pumps that pumped water to Camp Bahariya and Camp Fallujah, so we're kind of on our own. And I did put myself in a dangerous position because that's why I was always taught to be. You don't half step anything. If you're gonna do something, you do it right. And it just I came back like a lot of guys did, a little fucked up in the head, angry. My family couldn't handle me. My wife left me a week before I found out. I was essentially, I won't get into the details of my exit from the military, but I have honorable discharge. But I almost didn't get an honorable discharge because I had somebody coming after me who I pissed off along the way. So I ended up fucking signing away my rights to a medical discharge, and I just went out EAS style, which if you know any guys in the military, you'd be like, why the hell would you do that? Well, because I had to, because I got essentially blackmailed. So I get out. My family can't handle me. I'm a fucking wreck. I'm drinking a lot, and I just fucking, I can't do this anymore. So I fucking at the time I had this chopper. It's called the Road Goat, and Born Free 4 was happening. And I remember the Born Frees I see them like on, the internet, like a lot of dudes do. And I was like, man, I got to go to that thing. That looks like a great time. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I just put all my stuff on a bag. I had at the time, she was like 9 or 8 years old niece. She was like a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. I'm trying to balance this huge bag on the sissy bar. And she was the only one who knew I left my house. So I was like, all right, Miha, I love you. I'm going to go. And she was like, oh, dude, does everybody know you're leaving? I was like, no, just you. It's like, take care. I love you. And then I was gone after that for about 2.5 years. I lived on my bike. Homeless, just fucking roaming around, figuring shit out. It's funny because a lot of people at the time were like, oh, you're a nomad. That's so cool. I've never met any, maybe like one guy who was a nomad who didn't have some fucked up story about how he ended up there. Like, you got to have no ties. You got to be nowhere. Nobody fucking gave a shit whether I end up in a ditch or not. Like, I was on my own. Or at least that's how you feel at the time. Over time, now, relationship with my family's great again. I eventually fucking started going to school. I became more sedentary. That's how I ended up in Los Angeles. Met some great fucking people. Just kind of took me into the bike culture here, and started going to school here. I'm still here now. I've always been based out of Los Angeles, but I did take a lot of time to go off and ramble around a little bit, and then went back to school again.
Man,
wow.
If you don't mind, can we kind of ask a couple questions about this nomad life? Like, I always say this. I had a bit of a nomad time myself. I was homeless, kind of living in my car for a while. Just basically like pure choice. I didn't really have a place to go and was trying to figure out who I was. But I can only imagine doing that on a motorcycle. So what was that? What was like a day-to-day life? Like, did you have like a tent? Did you have a shower at like the YMCA? Like, what would be like?
I employed like an old cowboy system I saw because I'm a romantic fucking bitch. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna be a fucking cowboy. I'm from Texas, so it's like I got a bedroll system, and I had a friend sewing a Mexican blanket from 3 sides, and I'm camping in a lot of fair weather, but like some of it, I'd keep an extra this company called Snug Pack. I had this special forces sleeping bag, so it's like for survival purposes, pretty much. I froze my ass off a lot, but a lot of nights I just would take that tarp and pitch a lean-to on the side of my bike, and because it was green and like kind of dingy looking, I remember one time where I was in an alleyway and I would just try to find warm alleyways out of the wind or next to a fucking truck stop. Or if I had so many people take me in for a while. Like I slept on a lot of people's couches.
Yep.
And it's fun. I guarantee. I met so many friends who I'm incredibly close to now, who opened up their homes to me, and I got to know their family, got to know their kids. Like, there was a great upside to being able to just go pick up sticks and go. And sometimes I'd be somewhere long enough, and I'm like, man, just don't feel right. Like, I could tell there's something else somewhere, or somebody would say, hey man, this event's going on here. And I had no reason not to go. And I was like, I was challenging myself. Growing up, I grew up and never went on vacation nowhere as a kid. We were so poor. Like, you're lucky if we could steal cable that summer to be able to see some parts of the world. So I always wanted to travel, and it was always in me. And I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to go travel. So in the military, the only place I got to see was the desert. So I was in North Carolina. If you've ever been to North Carolina, there's a tree line. That tree line, you don't see no view. There's like, it wasn't the America I wanted to see. I was like, man, there's so many beautiful places. So I finally got the opportunity to do it, and I was like, I want to go see every national park. I want to go see the ocean. I want to go see this state. I want to have, a Philly cheesesteak and the crown jewel Philly cheesesteaks. It was always like some random bullshit reason to go somewhere, but it was just like an excuse just to. I was always said, if I found the right place, I would drop kickstand, and that would be where I ended up. But I never did, and then I ended up back in LA, and all for the best. I think it all worked out.
So having that kind of background, like working on helicopters, did that help you on the road with your bike a lot?
I can hear my buddy Wizard laughing right now. Fuck no, it didn't. I've made every fucking mistake in the book. Talking, accidentally unplugged my spark plug wire. Accidentally switched them. Forgot to fucking turn my petcock in the right direction. I have made so many stupid mistakes and like pushed my bike, by the way, when it had gas in it, and for 2 miles, not realizing I just need to flip the switch. It was almost like I just completely forgot how to do everything on helicopter. Like there's a lot of transferable skills. Like of course I know how to turn a wrench. I know how the jet engine works. But I was like, oh, this Harley. I was like, oh, fucking befuddled by it for no fucking reason. And as being a guy who's influenced by the chopper scene, you make little subtle changes to your bike which screw you over on the road because now all of a sudden, oh, that Thunderheader looked real cool until it cracks 9 or 10 times, and that sissy bar, yeah, it looked really cool until it cracks in the middle of nowhere, and now you got to duct tape it and wait till you get to a town with a welder. It's like there were so many things that made it harder on myself than I needed to. But I just thought, hey man, there's a certain sweet spot where chopper cool and functionality kind of meet, and that's kind of where I was always at, like some middle ground.
Was it more of a hardtail or a softtail? Sorry, your bike.
The first one I had to go was a hardtail, and I snapped the backbone on that, snapped the down tubes, and then I finally blew the fucking motor, and then got the motor rebuilt and blew it right away, and I was fucking fed up with that motherfucker, and I got like a big chunk of change when I first started going to school. No, I got it from when I first applied to disability. There was a time, I don't know if you guys may know about this, but the VA had this huge backlog. It took me over a year and a half to get benefits, and nowadays, luckily, it like guys can get them within like a few months. But it was like a historical backlog. It was real shitty. But the good thing about it was all the months that I never got money.
Oh,
they gave it to you at once. And first thing I did was I bought a '94 Dyna Lowrider. Dude, my buddy Wizard had said, he's like, man, this is the bike you need. It'll take you anywhere. It's geared high for the highway. He's like, that's just a solid stock 94 Evo. You can get the parts everywhere. And that bike fucking took me all over the country. And that one was called the Warhorse. That's the one with the whirling log, aka what a lot of people know to be a swastika on the side of it. And I rode that thing everywhere in real places that people were like, are you gonna ride that bike to Compton? I'm like, yeah, dude. But this was before. I feel like nowadays I would not get away with it. But I've had people spit on my bike. I had people try to hit it. I was always worried about, because it's a beautiful paint job, but it was a Native American logo, and the story behind it is why I put it on my bike. But you can't make that rational like defense to somebody who's just passing by.
Yeah. Because it's actually a peace symbol, right?
No, that's a big misconception. That's like,
oh really?
There is a version of it that's a peace symbol, but then the Navajo version is like a story about like this. You want to hear the story?
Yeah, of course I do.
So it's called the Wintu, and it's this story about this young native who leaves his community out in search of knowledge, and he's going down what I believe that we now know is the Colorado River, and I forget what the intersection of it is. But on his way there, he's riding his log canoe, and he's hitting all these whirlpools, and where these two rivers meet, he meets this deity sitting on this symbol, which is the symbol of what a lot of people think is swastika. And this deity essentially gives him this supreme knowledge. What it is, never really said. But he takes his canoe, which has been bent in opposite directions, and rides back to his people and brings them this wealth of knowledge. And I like the idea of it kind of for, and there's a lot of things you can infer about it. But for me, what I took from the story was that I was going out into the world, and I wanted to, I was seeking that old man on the hill. Like I wanted to know things that I've always wanted to know, and I did. And I met people, and I sat next to strangers, and I learned from as many people as I could. And try to be as respectful as possible, no matter where you're going. And you'd be amazed how many people open up to you. And I was like, just really fascinated with that story, and that's why I go to school to be for anthropology, so understanding different cultures and how rich like such a sacred symbol like that has uh, can be just inferred by me having it.
Oh.
That's why I put it on there. It's a beautiful symbol, and Native Americans stopped using it after World War II happened because obviously Americans were riding on the side of the highway and would see these blankets and pottery, like, what the fuck is that? And so they all kind of collectively decided to stop using it. But in the time that I started using it, there's almost this, I don't know, like a resurgence of the usage of it because people felt like they had made enough concessions for the white men at the time. And they said, you know what, this is our culture and we shouldn't let, Hitler take something like that from them. And I'm totally on the side of that. But making that argument in today's climate is kind of really, I think it falls on deaf ears, and I'm kind of over making that argument. And it was a lot of guys do the whole like motorcycle association thing with it, but the fact is, writing's on the wall. We're just in a point in history where it's just too tender of a thing to me to feel like I'm not gonna die on that hill.
Yeah. So on your journeys, what was the most beautiful thing you saw that you like you could dream about or you still think about to this day that kind of changed things maybe a little bit for you?
Fuck, man, there's so many.
Maybe the first thing. What was the first thing you were like, wow, I'm really just free out here?
I can remember, and it's funny about your memory. Your memory is like how well can you trust it? Like, what year was it? I can't even remember what year it was, but there's this highway they call the loneliest highway, and there's a section of it that goes to Nevada. And I remember it was like I was on a fucking Martian planet. These mountains just came up out of nowhere, and they have these beautiful, like you could tell the different like colors of lines in them. And then there's this huge moon, and the sunset was behind me, but it like cast this purple bluish hue in the sky, and I felt like I was on like another fucking planet. And I see these fucking horses running next to me, wild horses, and I was like, what the hell? Like, you just feel like you're the first person in human history to witness this moment, and like you really feel alone, and you're in the middle of fucking nowhere, and you feel fucking great and alive, and I can remember like tearing up just at how fucking beautiful everything was. And I've had a lot of like that where just like that is like, if you can get as close to fucking what people perceive to be heaven on earth, is like, it's out there for if you want to go find it. It's definitely out there.
Wow.
So I'd see horses on the motorcycle. I'd be like, first thought would be, please don't cross the road. And second thought is, if this thing shits on the road, whose job is it to clean it up?
There actually was horse shit on the road. I remember that specifically because they're just like free ranging out there.
Wow. It's the worst. I had a raccoon come out and it decided that it no longer wanted to live and it ran underneath my tire. And I'm thinking like anything big. I've seen people hit like bears and like a moose, and I'm like, the raccoon scared the bejesus out of me. I couldn't imagine seeing Smokey coming out of the woods.
On your bike?
Yeah. Ran underneath my tire. I'm like, well, he didn't want to live anymore.
Oh my god.
Trash pan is done.
Oh my
you guys
god.
have a big problem with those up there. You guys, that happens pretty often for you guys, I imagine.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Bear and moose and
Well, not we're a little bit south, but like animals just like it's like
and deer.
Oh, deer are the worst.
Fucking Bambi, I swear to God.
Yeah, deer. It's like you hear about like we have a friend from Australia, and he tells us at night you don't drive at night in Australia.
Oh, the kangaroo,
you don't because the kangaroos are so bad. And certain types of the year around here, it's bad. Yeah, it's bad.
I was always warned when I was up north because I come from the Southwest where, I mean, they have very, very few deer there. So, but they're like, do not drive at around sunrise or sunset. That's the worst time. And sure enough, yeah, you just scare the shit out of you with those little red beady eyes on the side of the road. Try not get killed. But sometimes you have to power through, go through some pass or something to get to the town you're going to. And I'd say that's the situation I hated the most. I've always been terrified of hitting one. I've hit a deer in my truck, but never with my vehicle, on my bike.
Those stupid fucks are so stupid. Oh my
They
god!
just kind of stopped as well. They're like, "Oh, hey!"
I had one run into me. Like it darted. It stopped for the garbage truck, and then it ran behind the garbage truck, and then it started running towards my car. So I pull over to slow down so that hopefully stupid Bambi would not run into the car. It ran into the side of my car, did a backflip over the hood, landed on the side of the road. Now it fucked up my grill. It messed up everything, and it didn't even have the goddamn common courtesy to say, like, get up and limp. Nope, got up, flipped me off, and then ran away. I'm like, now I see why.
Is that why you had to put that whistle on your car or whatever?
Yeah, I put the deer whistle on it, and it didn't do shit. It was
don't
calling
work.
them out.
It didn't work.
Yeah, they don't work.
They don't work. It called it out, I think.
Yeah, they're like, come here, I'm coming.
Come on.
Oh my
Fucking
god.
deer.
So, on your travels, did you ever come up into Canada?
No. I've always wanted to go, and I think it's usually because I go up north at the wrong times of year. It just kind of happened. I've been up to Portland, and I've been to New York City, and that's probably about as far as I've gone. And I don't know if they're gonna let me in. There's some shit that I may have on my record that may or may not come up. I've heard people not get in, but I think it's still my dream to go to Alaska and to go to Canada to go do it. And I got to try all your game meat, so I got to eat some bears and stuff like that. Absolutely.
Yep. A beautiful province to go up through if you're going up through like Montana and you go up through Alberta. You can see the Rocky Mountains. Like that's like one of our most beautiful provinces is Alberta, and then getting into BC. It's just those are pretty rad. You see some pretty cool things up there. A lot of animals, but pretty cool things.
I rode into the state once. I went to Gettysburg. That was a nice ride through Pennsylvania, but that's as far as I've gone. Yeah. I was going to ask you. I'm sorry.
Did you see a ghost?
There? Nope. I went too fast to see a ghost. I wasn't having that.
Who did we just talk to about that? We have a friend. We just talked to a guy a couple weeks ago from Pennsylvania, and we were talking about the ghosts that happened through Gettysburg.
Yeah, through the Devil's Ridge and all that. Yeah, no, wasn't having any of that. So when you were in Nevada, I wanted to ask before I forget, like, did you get to see any ghost towns out there?
Oh, hell yeah. There's so many cool ghost towns. I love going through them, and you really got to go out of your way to get to them, because if they're a ghost town, they're off one of the major eyes. So you're going down state roads, and you can, man, I'm trying to think of, I can't remember any of their names because they kind of just blur together. I spent a lot of years in the Southwest, but yeah, there's tons of cool places to go.
Were there people living in them?
Some of them, for sure, yeah. There's some that are like legit, like they say ghost town. There's still nobody that lives there, but a lot of them are, like have like work off the tourism of it being a ghost town. So somebody's giving tours there. There's a gas station there. It's like a handful of people that still live there. That's
I watched a documentary of like the town that has no rules, and I've always wondered like if that was for real or if that was just like for show, and if it was just for tourism, like because it seemed like there was a society of people that went in there just to live because there was nobody else there, so there's no power, no nothing. Like you would go there to vacation to kind of have your own little away from everything kind of thing.
Oh no, that totally exists. Like I mean, we have that here in California with the what's it called? It's by the Salton Sea, where all the weirdos live.
So that's what essentially. I was saying that.
Is it California?
Yeah, remember you asked that last time? And I looked it up.
Yeah, it was on Vice City.
Yeah.
Yeah, Slab City.
Yep.
Yeah, they do. They once in a while, and there used to be a bike event. They used to go up there. I never got to make it, but that sounded like a wild time. But that place is lawless. There's no running water. There's no electricity. So, but with advances nowadays, like just trucking in water is all they have to do. And America's big, and there's a lot of parts of it where there's like a handful of sheriffs that are like in control, and if a place is just like doing its own thing, I mean, they'd rather concern themselves with the places that I guess like where the populace is, and they don't want to deal with any bullshit, so they just ignore it. And there are some places you kind of get to be a little lawless at, but if you call the cops, like how long is it going to be before they show up? Like I don't call the cops, but so I hear.
Yeah.
Somebody calls the cops.
So on your bike with like when you were riding around, I know you weren't looking for trouble, but were there any like sketchy situations while you were on your travels?
Nothing
that'll get you incarcerated, of course.
Yeah. No stories that you could say.
I've been kicked out of quite a few bars in Nashville. in Ohio. Um, Unfortunately, I'm young, full of piss and vinegar and drinking a lot. You tend to do some shit that you know you can get away with because you don't ever have to fucking see these people again. And you're like, fuck, and I didn't always respect people's privacy or property and, or, like peace or anything like that. I was like, fuck you. I had a real fuck you attitude, chip on my shoulder. So, but I had a lot of fun, and I don't believe in making people's days any harder. But if you're gonna be a bitch to me and try to ruin my fun time, I will be an asshole like you wouldn't fucking believe. And I did run into times when I'm like, I fucking I'm by myself. Like, you think, oh, these guys are cool or anything, but yeah, you don't really know them. You got to kind of watch your P's and Q's all over the country. You can piss off the wrong dude, piss on the wrong bar. Things happen.
Wow.
Did you have, like, when you were in a town, like, people would say, hey, when you're heading down this way, head into here and I'll let them know that you're on your way to them, kind of thing, like to like
all the time.
Yeah,
I had so many people do that, and I met so many fucking cool people. And I'd show up some places, and like wives had made dinner, or like they had made room for me in their garage, and like it was like a total thing. And if anything, doing my time on the road definitely restored my faith in humanity a lot. Like, I become real bitter and hated a lot of people, and then for so many strangers, just to be so kind. And you live in a city long enough, we have that anonymity where you can be an asshole to somebody, you're never gonna see them again. But in small towns, you're an asshole to somebody, you run that fucker all the time. So I lived in a city too long, and to go into towns where people are just fucking nice as shit, dude. Give me. I mean, and I'm not looking like a guy who I would open the door for. I smell like fucking BO and gasoline and oil and dusty as shit. Like, but no, these people would open their homes up to me and, wash clothes for me, fucking, show me around their town. Like I had like countless stories and so many friends who I'm diehard friends with there just live in different parts of the country. I kept in touch with a lot of people. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people I lost touch with that I wish I could still get a hold of. But I was never really good at the social media. Like I cut off things for a while. When I first started, I didn't do any social media. Now I got it back on. But there was a time where I didn't fucking like it at all. I didn't really want to have it.
Now, obviously, having these places to stop and go and kind of sustains you for a while. But on the road, how were you able to kind of like, fill up gas or like buy a meal? Like, were you doing odd jobs or?
No, there was a time where I did pull a couple extra jobs if I needed extra money to get like when I needed my motor rebuilt in Ohio. Like my buddy Bear fucking gave me a do some motorcycle posts and write some stuff for us. I was like, hell yeah, and that helped me out a lot. But like for the most part, I had before the VA was helping me. I had unemployment from the military, and I ran that thing out for a year, but it was like $1,200. So it's like I had enough for gas, and some days I had enough for food. A lot of people fed me, but it was like if I was gonna put gas in my tank or eat, I put gas in my tank. And I grew up poor, so fucking I can eat out of cans and fucking eat super simple and know how to go find a 99-cent store, Dollar General somewhere, and fucking snake out like a when I go visit my mom, she'd make me enough burritos that I would space it out for like 2 weeks, and I'd have these bean and cheese and green chili burritos last forever on the road, and peanut butter and jelly in your bag with tortillas because your bread's gonna get smashed. Last you forever. It's cheap as fuck. You just go on forever. If you're a simple person, and I need a lot. It's just I put gas in it, and then sometimes I get stuck somewhere. I'll be like, I just ran out of money. I just hang out there for a while until the first came, and then my VA check would hit in, and the VA check at the time, I mean, like I got screwed over my first couple of years. It was only like probably $1,200, but $1,200 to a guy who has no house, no credit cards, no bills. It's all just that's enough to put gas in the tank. It's enough to eat. I never never got hotels anywhere. If it did, it would have to be like a super special occasion. Those really like 5 or 10 times over like those years.
Wow. So will the government, the military, will they pay for you to go back to school now then?
Now they do, yeah. You get sergeant's BAH, basic housing allowance for whatever zip code your school is. So I chose a city that was, they tend to pay more than a small town does, small town college. And, you live as frugal as you want and you can pocket that extra money. So you kind of make a job out of going to school. And then I collect my disability on top of that. And now I work too, do some security work. So I got my little revenue streams, but it's funny now that I'm busy as fuck. And I actually have bikes that can run. I can't go nowhere. Got no time to go anywhere.
That's how it goes.
Yeah,
That's
Jeremy
life.
was showing me the bike that you
Yeah,
had.
you just
for
got a
your
new
birthday.
bike, right?
Yes, it did.
For your birthday, right? Oh yeah, happy belated birthday. Sorry, I was gonna say that before.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries.
But when you get sick of that one, my birthday's in April, so send you my address.
That's a beauty bike, man.
That is beautiful.
Thank you, man. It's hard to pick it. There's all these new bikes just came out, and I happened to be in the market at the same time, and I never had a new bike and or like a new lease one in years since the first one I bought in Iraq, and I was like, man, you know what? I need to build my credit up, get to that point in my life where I'm starting to look at that shit and go, I want to be able to own land, own a house, trying to transcend fucking, you leave something for fucking whoever's after me or whatever. So I got to make some different choices in life, and buying the bike, I consider it a fucking smart choice because it's like, hey, man, it's building credit, it's fucking building equity.
Yeah.
And somebody's out there going, you're so full of shit. There's no equity. Harley Davidson. Whatever. I'll find the motivation I need to fucking spend that money.
I like I like those new Indians. They are beautiful. Like they're not shifting too far away from the old look of them. I'd really like them if they had hard bags, but no, they look really nice.
My only problem with them is if you look up on the handlebars, it's the simple things that the design that they didn't worry about, like their buttons on their on their controls. They look like they belong on like, I don't know, like a scooter, on like a Japanese scooter. They don't look like they were designed for that bike. And you look at the small things like the control arms, and it's just, I don't know. That's where I think that they kind of, I'm gonna wait for them another 5-10 years before I would be really serious about an Indian. But I mean, they're right there with a lot of designs. As like, they got cool points for sure. The motor's there. It's been tested and proven. I like what Polaris has been doing with them.
Yeah, and then what's that? The Victory, their version of when they put the fairing on the front, it's too futuristic for me. Like it's just if it were me, I'd like that Screaming Eagle. I love those Screaming Eagles. I'd take one of like a bright yellow one of them. Take that in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty rad, man. Like he had a bigger bike than I did. I only had a bike for about maybe a year and a half. I crashed my car and then I drove around southern Ontario, Canada. You can only drive for about, what do you think, like
3 months?
3 months on a motorcycle here. So you can
really
only drive for,
no. You can go longer if you put a ski on the front. But
yeah. You can only drive for a little bit and it gets pretty cold. And you're like, I remember one morning I was like, I think it's time, because like my hands were so cold. And I had like double gloved and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't feel my hands at all. I couldn't even grip it anymore. It was so cold. But yeah, you can only drive for so long in Canada.
You know, Harley
like,
Davidson did make a ski bike version of the Harley, right?
well, for real? Oh, no way.
I remember I was up in Alabama. They have man, it's one of the best motorcycle museums in the world. But they had and I remember the big old ski on it had Harley Davidson on it. I was like, that's fucking cool. Yeah, it was like, but I think it was a Harley Davidson motor powering it.
You know what are nuts is those guys that have the track on the back with the ski on the front, and it's like it's a modified version of like a dirt bike, but it's meant to go in the snow. You see those? Have you seen them? It is nuts.
Maybe that's just Canada thing.
Maybe that is Canada thing. But again, I'm thinking like you're going down the hill, all of a sudden Sam Squanch or Moose.
You're done. You're done, bruh.
You say Sam Squanch? You got to fill in on this.
Yeah. Sasquatch.
So there's this TV show from Canada called The Trailer Park Boys, and it's like this guy, and so he calls it a Sam Squanch instead of a Sasquatch, and so now everybody doesn't call it a Sasquatch or Bigfoot. We call it
a Sam Squanch.
Sam Squanch.
Nice, I like it. I've seen Trailer Park Boys, but I don't think I've ever seen that. I haven't followed it closely enough.
I think it's in the second.
Letterkenny guy myself.
Oh yeah,
that show up there.
Yeah.
Oh, hell
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Doesn't get much better than them.
Oh yeah. That's a great show. That's a great show. That's like northern, like Manitoba,
Yeah,
like that's
yeah.
Canada. That's what's up. Yeah. Those guys are awesome.
The hockey chirping has made its way here, though. You hear a lot of that around here. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Hockey's a whole different animal up here. It's like football stuff for you guys down in the States. That's what's up here. Yeah. Canada. So all that time driving around, like that wasn't the time of GPS, right? Like you didn't have a GPS. You were just
I
like had
remember
a map.
questing some places when I first started writing.
Mm.
Like,
But like
printed out MapQuest.
just print it out and then you would pin it to something or just look at it every like couple miles or
You know, that was, man, I missed that about bikes too. Back in, I feel so fucking crippled and dependent on GPS nowadays. But you really got to know a city by like figuring out how the grid system works and shit like that. And you know, if you knew how they worked, and most cities are the same. But yeah, like I literally would pull over gas stations and go, "Hey man, do you know the best way to get to freaking New York City?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm from New Jersey. Yeah, take this highway to this highway." And you know, you just got there when you got there, and you may make a wrong turn or two, and it was part of the fun. And I do miss that. That's why I didn't like having social media, like having a phone. Nobody didn't need to know where I was. I didn't need to know where I was. You know, you're really in the fucking moment. And no, I totally am guilty of getting caught up and just being super dependent on GPS now.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
all
you
are.
take a duck face selfie every time you got into town and be like, Ohio.
I definitely did have those moments. Oh, I've taken so many fucking pictures in front of fucking those signs and stuff like that. But I got out of the habit of it, and I kind of wish I didn't. I need to fix my fucking GoPro and start creating some content again. I feel like everybody's a content creator nowadays, you know?
I think the funniest ones I've seen so far are the guys that like he takes a picture in front of a sign that says like no walking, and he's he's doing the walking in front of the sign, and then he just kind of like mic drops it right. Oh, it's so funny. I would do that.
There's like another one where it was like the guy, he's a Canadian guy, and he goes, it's like Mike from Moose Jaw, and he goes,
oh yeah.
You've seen those?
Yeah. Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Yeah, sorry, inside
yeah,
joke.
I would do those ones where it's like no dogs, and I walk my dog right on in front of the sign. Oh my god, those are the rebel ones.
So, what made you decide to kind of get off the road? Was it just like a timing thing, or were you just like, did you make a decision?
You know, it was I kept on trying to, you know, but like I started going to school and got on a good path, and then my mom had a bout with cancer, which kind of made me want to go home. And then after I went home and realized I wasn't doing much help there, I just kept on going. And then I had my brother commit suicide a couple years ago, and after he did that, I kind of felt like, you know what, it made me reevaluate a lot of things in life and go, you know what, I'm getting older. Time isn't fucking waiting for me. I need to accomplish some things I said I was going to accomplish, and you know, I always felt like I was meant to do something, and I hadn't figured out for myself what exactly that was, but I know that when I was working in school, that I felt like this is the place for me, and I'm really good at this, and I found something I'm really good at again, and it felt good, it felt rewarding, and that positive like mindset has filtered over in other parts of my life where that's like it's funny because when my life was shit, my bikes were running like shit. I didn't take care of my bikes as well. I ran them till they were falling apart, and I'd hear shit happening, I'd ignore it, and then of course it'd fucking bite me in the ass later. And now, I mean, like that doesn't happen ever, and ever like it's funny how you know your life is what you put into it, and it just goes all the way for me. If I'm focused and doing good things continue to happen for me, and that's why the bikes have gotten nicer. The clothes got nicer. I feel less dingy. I feel healthier. You know, definitely in better headspace than I was for a lot of years ago.
Wow, man, that's pretty impressive. You know, not a lot of people can come out of the other side of that and have a lot of that kind of perspective. That's pretty amazing.
Well, you got to think like why you know I think everybody asks themselves like why the fuck am I still here? You know, especially when you get older and you have some people you love die. You're like, man, you know, I've known some great people who aren't anymore, and you got to earn your spot. Like, you know, if you're gonna be alive, you out of respect for people I lost, the way I figure is I'm not gonna be a piece of shit. I'm gonna do the best I can with what I got left.
Wow, it's pretty deep, man. That's pretty awesome.
Thanks.
So why anthropology? Why is that?
Oh, I fucking anthropology is my thing. Well, give me hold on one second. I
Give you a
just
second.
noticed
Yep, no worries.
this computer's gonna die.
Oh shit.
Charging. But
That's not our
so
first time that's happened.
I was a history major because I liked history, and then I realized it's all numbers and dates. And when you look at history, nothing really tells you about like the why. Like, why did it happen this way? And why did why do people fucking can't get along? And why is there such miscommunication? And it's because we all come from different cultural differences. And I took this one class that just every day I went in there, I just boom, just mind blown. I was like, what? Like, just understanding people. I just took things for granted. For I exotified people from all over across the world without ever asking me, why do they do the things they do? Why are these rituals? How do they come about? What do they mean to them? And when I started learning about like different cultures in this, it was a magic, witchcraft, and religions class. And the professor was this guy named Eisenhower, and he was fascinated with biker culture. And after class, I had a class. It would end at like 10 o'clock. Me and him would stay after till like 11 o'clock every night, and just he'd be picking my brain about biker culture, and was like a super interesting dude, and had seen a lot of things in his day, like told some phenomenal stories about like the free drug era, and like going on like spirit journeys. I was like, amazing. I was like, that is like the life of an adventure. If like, Indiana Jones wasn't an anthropologist, he was like a grave robber. But
Yeah.
that's the closest thing, you're like going off into the world, and looking for treasures, and treasures in the matter of like people's personal stories. And I was doing that on the road. Like, I was meeting these incredible people, and I thought, like, what's their place in history, and what, but like they belong to a different culture than I did, and that's why I think that they fascinated me. And as far as our biker community goes, I consider American biker culture like it's a part of the American fabric, and we haven't done a good job at recording our own history for a lot of reasons. And when I started doing research on bike culture, trying to write a paper, there was all this shit that was like super one-sided, and it was all written by DEA agents and FDA, all these people with a fucking agenda. And I said, they're not really portraying something I love in the right manner and with the kind of respect that it deserves. So I wanted to be the person to write about it, and I wanted to be the person who could go out and get these stories. And I said, the only way I can do this, I got to properly learn how to, I got to if I'm going to walk the walk, I got to learn how to talk the talk. And speaking academically is not the most important thing in the world, but it matters to me that when we look back in our history, that somebody took the time to learn about our people and doesn't think we're everything that you see on a fucking movie or a TV. We've been the bad guy for everything. Some of the best people I ever met were bikers, and a lot of strangers who I met were like, "You're such a nice guy. I would have had no idea." And it's because they have all these stereotypes about us, and and when I say stereotypes, I say that with the caveat that being a biker is, it's a self-selected group. You put on the clothes and you look different, you're going to be treated different, and you take your licks with it or not. You can't change society. But what I say is, if I can just help out a few ignorant ass people, help them go, hey, you know what? Just because this fucker wears leathers or looks gnarly or whatever, he lived a whole life story. He's got a family too. So like, I think that shit matters, and
wow,
it's easy to demonize bikers because we look different, and that's just not cool. So I want to give people the opportunity to learn about the rich, beautiful culture that I know biker culture is.
Well, that's just it. Like you see somebody on a bike with a patch on their back, and you think 1%er, he's probably got guns or drugs, or he's on his way to go get them. But like they don't see the fact that when a guy who's had a motorcycle for 2 years and can't figure out why the bike keeps dying on him every 5 minutes on the 401, and like I had 4 or 5 people pull over, ask me if I was okay, see if I needed a ride somewhere, or see if there's something they could do to help me get my bike going because they owned a motorcycle. It was incredible. I was on my way home. I was only like half an hour away from home. but I had like 14 people pull over, say they had motorcycles, and were more than willing to give me a hand if I needed it.
That's cool. It's nice when that happens, man. It doesn't always happen, man. I'll tell you, I was in Montana and I waited on the side of the road where that sign was for hours. Nobody stopped for me. Nobody. And finally, it was a biker who stopped, and he was driving a PT Cruiser. I'll never forget. He's like, "Man, you know why nobody stopped for you?" And I was like, "Cause the way I look." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you know just the other week some family got shot in the head because they pulled over to help somebody who was on the side of the road, supposedly stranded. And he shot the mom, dad, and the girl in the head. She was like a teenager. She was the only one alive." And he goes like, "There ain't a single person who's gonna pull you over and help you." So I'm gonna go get some jumper cables. I'm gonna come like he had to drive a couple hours in one direction, drive a couple hours back just to come help me out and jump my bike.
No way.
And he did it, and I was like, fucking solid dude. But that is just a thing. You kind of some places they're not very friendly.
Yeah, wow. Mine was my stator. It by the time I was done, it looked like a caramel apple. I blew that thing up.
In there.
Oh, yeah, that was not fun. So when you ride, what do you usually wear?
Shit, fucking the wrong thing most of the time because I like being comfortable. I wear fucking Vans because I have fucking knee problems and shit like that. So slipping them on is easy. I like easy tennis shoes because boots fucking my ankles will swell up in them and I can't fucking do shit in them. And they're bad for my back usually. I got a jean cut vest, I've had for fucking years. I bought it from Harley, and it had a fucking hoodie that came in it. It was fucking one of my favorite things because the way it zips up, you can let out the bottom from it. And in California, like leather, I mean, like you go down, whatever. I've gone down in a jean cut so many times, and you end up getting that little scrub on your back, like the lonja, we say in Spanish, your love handles, whatever. You usually get that little road rash, but you're usually fine up top. I've been gone down in my cuts all the time, so I never concern myself with having leathers, and they're so fucking cumbersome as far as space-wise that I usually needed room for oil because my bikes were always fucking leaking and, basic fucking necessities, so I didn't ever worry about that. And always Levi's, always, because they fucking lasted better than anything else.
I was gonna ask if you had hit up Dixon Flannel to check out some of them. They've designed a lot of their flannel shirts for motorcycles because the flaps right here usually hit you in the face and it gives you a bruise by the time you get to where you're going. But they've got like the button downs for all that stuff to keep them down. And yeah,
I don't wear flannels ever, and I kind of I know like I have buddies who that's all they fucking wear. And after I got in the military, I hated fucking wearing button up anything. I always wear a t-shirt and a hoodie. But Dixon flannels look cool, but I never found one that fit me. So I don't know if they got my big boy sizes, if they did, but they're just so hard to come by because as soon as they come out in the rack, they're always gone. They never have my size.
Well, we got it in.
We're kind of friends with Danny. Yeah, we've had him on the podcast before. Talked to him, so maybe I'll ask him. Say, hey, what do you got for big sizes? And see
what we can do for you.
See if we can summon out with you or something.
Yeah, just say if he has size massive, and then like
like it's one with like a T-Rex on it. That's a joke from Fluffy.
Oh, good God, man. I just have so many questions, but I just don't know which one to ask first. Oh, Jesus. So, like your life now, you're in school, you're full time, you've lived like this like life, and I wanted to ask this because I don't really know. So. Is it true that like the biker kind of culture started with a lot of the guys that were coming out of World War II? Is that when it kind of started?
Absolutely. So you can look at all like a lot of the major bike clubs, and they were founded by military members. Hell's Angels, obviously, everybody knows that they started out of Fontana, and a lot of people attribute the Hell's Angels to they started from the bomber group, the Hell's Angels, and then you have the Sundowners here in San Fernando, California, which was a bomber squadron as well. The Banditos were started by a Marine after Vietnam. You got these guys who have this sense of brotherhood, and we get taught how to do everything, and from a very young age. I mean, you're 18, you get taught how to be in the military, and it's a very specific culture. And when you get out, a lot of guys say my route that I went through is happened to a lot of guys. You know, we're too fucked up after the war. Our families couldn't fucking handle us. Society didn't want us. We weren't gonna abide by the social contract, and we kind of were fucking had a chip on our shoulder because we did our time and we came back and felt like we were shitted on, and not necessarily America shit on me, not at all. I fucking, you know, if anything, America's been a lot more patriotic and better our veterans than they were to the Vietnam guys. In World War II, you know, a lot of guys had opportunity, but if you came back from World War II and you know you were a little wild, you know, you were not treated like a regular. You were a second class citizen. So a lot of these guys found that same brotherhood and started bike clubs out of it, and I love that aspect because I was like, wow, my life is, you know, I'm not the first one to go through this, and just like any kind of like, how many you go through, you're like, well, what happened to them, and they're okay, and they went on to be good, so I can be good, and that's why I embrace the bike culture the same way they did.
Now, when you came out, not to go back, but when you came out, was that something you consciously were thinking of, or that just happened for you?
It definitely just happened. You know, I kind of didn't. I don't like rules. So I don't like anybody telling me what to do, which is odd for a guy who's in the Marines. But you know, what I figure is like, hey, be professional, whatever. And when people weren't professional with me, I was professional with them. And bike clubs have a lot of self-imposed rules, so I was like, I just kind of on my own, and I met a lot of guys from different clubs, and there were a lot of cool people and stuff like that. But you know, I kind of just found the niche of like, I'm a guy who just loves riding forever, and I love being alone, and I handle being alone pretty well. Like, yeah, it gets lonely, but like I like eating a meal by myself. I like it's the peace of just like being completely like do my own thing in my own head. I'm in my own head a lot, so that's why I kind of gravitated towards the like nomad lifestyle.
Did you come across any large motorcycle groups while you were traveling
on your own?
Oh yeah, I mean that's how I made friends with some. Like met some great outlaw guys up in, you know, Ohio, Chicago, boost fighter guys, guys I made friends with, the Douche LaRouche here and there, you know, over the years in Hollywood, and then in out in Vegas, and definitely in the Douche LaRouche up in Dayton, Ohio, and out in the Ohio area. Some of my best friends. You got who else? I don't like throwing out everybody's names.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, but like, you know, you go to enough biker bars, you're gonna run into them, and I kind of, you know, I give them their space, I give them their respect, everything, because they're living in their own kind of world. And you know, sometimes if you're like, there's some clubs, you know, if you're not a club member, you're not in their world, so you just mind your business and stay out of their way, pretty much.
Well, I was gonna ask, like, while you were riding, like, were there any huge ones that like numbers wise while you were riding? Like, did you come across any like parade size amount of bikes while you were?
I think mostly no, just like at like larger rallies and stuff where you'd see them. But no, outside of like funerals I went to, that's the only large processions I think I would have gone to. Like my buddy Whiskey Greg and Two Springs, who's boost fighter. Whiskey Greg was man, I forget his club, but he used to be Douche LaRouche, and then he was with somebody else right before he passed. But yeah, those are the longest procession of bikes I have ever seen.
They're pretty cool to watch. I gotta admit, I had one where I was sitting at a gas station and I saw like it had been like 40 of them. I was like, geez, now that would be fun.
Yeah, a lot. We got a lot of that. So up here, I don't know if you heard about this. So on Friday the 13th, we got like there's a town called Port Dover, and everybody from like 4 hours away to 20 minutes away, we all drive to Port Dover, and it's just bikes, the entire city for a whole day. Friday the 13th, taken over. It's just like, it's the most amazing thing.
That sounds awesome.
You should check it out. Check it out on YouTube. It's like, it's been going on for like what, like 10 years or something?
Yeah, well, at least.
Something crazy, like at least 10 years. And it's like the entire town, like it just shuts down. Like the town loves it. Like the town is like super stoked because like all the commerce and all the people that come in. But for one day, the entire town, the small little town in Ontario, just is like, it's just like,
yeah, it's central for that.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I've always been fascinated with Canada. I think it's such a rich, beautiful place. Like it looks bountiful. Like I definitely have always wanted to ride there. But yeah, like you guys said, small windows kind of figuring out when I can do it.
Yeah, probably like get here like beginning of May and get out of here by end of August. Or
don't come today. We got a lot of snow.
Yeah. Today we got a lot of snow. Yesterday,
shoveling fucking twice.
Maybe you guys might
Snowblowers.
know this movie. There's a movie with the Dawson. One of the guys from Dawson's Creek. I don't know what his name is, but he's on a motorcycle. I want to say he's like on an old Royal Enfield, and he
I know.
crosses Canada.
I know. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. I know the movie.
The
you're talking about.
Indian?
No, I thought he was driving one of those little
Dumb and Dumber?
No, I can't. I'm trying to remember the bike he was riding, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, like he gets like a diagnosis that he has cancer, and he just fucking takes off and like on the highway. I was like, man, I totally get that, because like it's just like one of those like, man, and some people just need to do that. If they don't know, they don't have the answer, give yourself some time and space to have it. Give yourself a clear, free space to just think. And the motorcycle in the middle of nowhere is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to do it.
It's like, well, it's like a form of meditation, man. Like you're focusing on one conscious thing at that moment, and that's the only thing you have to worry about is exactly like you're in that moment, and you're literally like in charge of exactly what's happening. Every single movement, every single like thing you're looking at, like it brings you, centers you in, and like it takes you into that. Yeah, it gives you like a peace, right? So
that's exactly what I meant when I was talking about like when I first found it. Like I was like, holy shit, like I'm finally in control.
yeah.
And when you do it for that long, I think it's more, and I got to be honest, it's like a certain amount of it's like you're totally running away from your problems. Like you're totally not addressing it. You're like, I'm going to go get drunk in some small little mountain town somewhere and fucking forget about my life. And, sometimes you need that.
Mm. So I have to ask now. So going forward, you're working on the anthropology degree. So are you gonna write a book, or what's the plans for the future for you?
So right now I'm about to graduate from UCLA with my bachelor's in sociocultural anthropology, and I'm
Awesome.
applying to master's programs. And I'm keeping my options open. I'm working with a research group called Arms Across America, and essentially we're doing a interview process and oral history. I'm going to be interviewing people 1 hour every week for a couple years, and it's going to be people from all over the United States who have different backgrounds, and their experience with gun violence. And
Whoa.
I'm good. I've been delegated to interview vets because they feel more open to talk to somebody who's been where they've been. And this, I believe he's a sociology professor at UCLA is running this program, and I got in touch with it from one of I'm in the SVA, which is Student Veterans of America Club. I'm the sergeant at arms. Yes, I made up that fucking title, but I was like, if I'm gonna be an officer in this club, I was like, what do you guys got? And I was like, I don't want to do any of those jobs. I'm just gonna make one up. But there's some great people who they help out. If you're a vet on campus, they help you with your finances. They give you a place to work that's quiet. If you need a cup of coffee, it's like a great community that I'm involved with. We get tickets to go see a game once in a while, and we all hang out together and kind of look after each other. And it's a real great community thing up at UCLA. Definitely one of the best places I've been as far as the community of veterans all looking out for each other. And that's how I got hooked up with that job. We network. We try to, if somebody has a job somewhere, we kind of throw it up on our chat saying, hey, somebody need this, or I need some more guys to do this, and we all kind of pitch in. It's a real active group of young dudes, and I mean, some are still in. I got like young Marines who are like becoming officers, so they're going to college right now, and the military's paying for them there, and doing that. Then after graduate, we'll see where I get into. I may not get into any graduate schools, but I'd like to get my master's.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to be writing. But I have a project in the works right now. Have you ever heard of the Cowboys out of Sturgis?
I have heard of Sturgis. I haven't heard of the Cowboys, though.
So the Cowboys are a group of guys who were literally a group of cowboys who the owner of the Buffalo Chip hired to do security for the back in the days, and they used to ride on horses and fucking rope dudes up and fucking kick them off the chip. And nowadays they're riding 4x4s, and they're like a group of dudes who are pretty much like a special forces group of security. And people may like think, oh, security. If you're talking 12 to 18 dudes managing tens of thousands of bikers, you have to be a serious motherfucker to go there. And people fight you. People pull knives on you. We've done. They deal with human trafficking. They deal with like major incidents. If there's a medical emergency, we have to get the ambulance through a campground with a bunch of drunk assholes doing burnouts and everything. We got to get police there to get like emergency services to people who need it. And I heard about this group because on my travels, I was going through South Dakota, and a guy named Cosmo hit me up, and he's like, "Hey man, you need a place to stay?" And I ended up, it was the same thing where he asked me like, "What happens when you run out of money?" I ran out of money. He's like, "Man, you can stay here as long as you want." I was like, it's funny you say that, dude, because I don't get paid for about another week and a half. We just scratch here, and he was totally cool with it. And I ended up seeing so much of like the surrounding hills, and he just opened up his home to me. We became really good friends. Ended up going to his wedding, and he is now the leader of the Cowboys. He's like taking over for the old timer who's been doing it. Some of those guys have been doing it for like 18, 20 years. I mean, they've been doing it since the 80s. And he's the younger guy who they championed to take it on. And I got to do what we call an anthropology and ethnography with them, where I embedded myself with them and I was writing about their culture essentially. And I'm still working on it because honestly, it was my first foray into doing ethnographic work. And when I did it, didn't know what to expect. And I'm still learning my field methods and all that. And I'm still going to classes and learning. So now that after it happened in August and I've taken a lot of classes, I'm really starting to figure out how I'm going to write it and what I took from that experience. And I'd like to get the opportunity to make it into an ethnographic film. I'm taking a multimedia class right now where they're teaching me how to do what we call multimedia ethnography. So with the changing of things, it's not just going to be written out anymore. You can make a video out of it, but it's done in an academic circles, which is funny because it's like I feel like a lot of these films are just made for academics. Like only a handful of people will ever see them. But ideally, with anthropology, I would like to reach out to a wider audience. I would like for people to get the opportunity to learn about bikers on a real human level and reach a wide audience. And if that means I really don't want to go into like the Hollywood realm like other people do, but maybe like a documentary or something like that. There are some people I'm in contact with who did the documentary Icarus. Do you guys know about that?
Yeah. I'm familiar with that.
So I have a dude who's trying to get me up with that, and we're just trying to work on something like that. So I got a lot of fires going on right now.
Yeah.
Well, if you need two bearded Canadian actors, just let us know.
I could be a biker. Probably.
Yeah.
And then I've been working on a book forever on motorcycle travel. Just because there's so many things I learned in all those years that I wish I could teach other people, like how to sleep in graveyards and how to find, the best, warmest alleys in XYZ, and I got like all these other guys who taught me shit along the way, and I kind of wanted to spotlight their wisdom and knowledge and give them the credit they deserve as like the Wiz or, Charlie and Nomad. He used to write for, or I think he still does. I don't know, for the Horse. But Charlie became one of my friends, and he gave me advice. And Roadside Marty out in Pensacola, Florida, he does the Willie Chopper Time show, and it's been one of the greatest dudes ever. But I've looked up to all these guys, and just like I said, with a dude without a dad growing up, you kind of just look up to all these people, and taking a little bit from everybody. And I want to give them their credit due. So getting an opportunity to write about everybody is kind of a plan of mine. And I have another thing in the works, but I haven't got any, I haven't got approval yet from them to do it yet. So I'll keep that hush hush for now, but definitely other big project in the works. So,
man, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, we would love to have you back on, in the future, like just to kind of catch up and see what you got going on, if you don't mind.
I really appreciate that, especially with my tardiness and all this shit. I fucking was splitting lanes to get fucking back home.
Man,
I was like, I had to fucking.
It's all good. Hey, it gave me a chance to warm up my coffee and have another one. So
we were just hanging out. I was doing some homework too, and I was just like finishing some stuff. So we were just doing some editing, and we were just chilling out, man. So we really appreciate your time. So
no, thank you very much. I appreciate, they say like, if you fucking ever did anything in life, and you should really be grateful for the time that anybody would take to even want to fucking listen to you. So I really am grateful that
you get
an opportunity to fucking
No problem.
Okay, man.
Of
And just
course.
let me know when the bike's coming. I'll give you the address.
Mail him the keys.
Yeah,
exactly.
make sure the keys are there. Yeah.
Well, man, again, I hope you have a good night and all the best, and we'll talk to you in a
We'll
little
definitely
bit.
talk soon.
Thank you very much,
Yep,
guys.
yep.
You take care.
Yeah, see you later.
Thank you.